Hi, I'm Cecilia.
I'm Peter.
And I'm Chris, and we're seniors at WSU studying nutrition and exercise physiology. Our objective here today is we're going to give you a brief overview on how to incorporate ingredients into your diet without making drastic changes. Minor modifications make a much more healthy and satisfying meal.
We're going to go over common micronutrient deficiencies, what happens when you're deficient, some sources, and give you examples of how to work those into your everyday foods.
All right, now we're going to go into the micronutrients, starting with calcium. As you may know, calcium is important for our bone health, but it also has other functions as well. And deficiencies in calcium may lead to lack of energy, poor appetite, also future problems with bone fractures and osteoporosis. So the most at-risk population for this would be postmenopausal women and people with lactose intolerance. Now, some sources that are high in calcium include milk, yogurt, cheese, and also if you are lactose intolerant, there are fortified orange juice, dark green veggies are good as well as along with tofu. Another micronutrient of concern is vitamin D, and this is important for bone health as well since it helps support the absorption of calcium. Now, people with deficiencies in vitamin D may exhibit the same symptoms as calcium deficiencies, as well as fatigue, weakness, depressed moods. The most at-risk population is people with limited sun exposure, obesity, darker skin, or people with fat malabsorption. Good sources of vitamin D would be fatty fishes, mushrooms, cheese, egg yolks, fortified cereals, and juices. But be careful as it's easy to consume a lot of calories through this.
Next up is iron. Now, iron is a micronutrient that plays a vital role in the transport of oxygen in red blood cells to tissues that need it throughout your body. Common signs of deficiency include fatigue, hair loss, loss of concentration, headaches, and the eventual development of anemia. Those most at risk are people who follow vegetarian diets, people who are vegan, pregnant females, females with heavy menstrual flow, and you can find it in people with GI disorders as they have trouble absorbing those nutrients. Some good sources include animal products for those who are vegetarian or vegan, dark green leafy vegetables, beans, dried fruit, and you can find iron in a lot of fortified cereals. Vitamin B12 is another nutrient we're going to look at. It's also commonly deficient in many people in the United States, and its function includes the formation of red blood cells, which ties into iron's role of transporting oxygen throughout the body. Not only that, but it plays a lot of other important roles as well. This involves nerve development and production of DNA in our body. Common signs of deficiency include fatigue, weakness, constipation, weight loss, numbness, and another different form of anemia than iron. Iron, you get iron deficiency anemia. B12, you get megaloblastic anemia. People who are most at risk for B12 deficiency include vegans, people with bariatric surgery, since stomach chemicals are really important for the absorption of B12. In addition, there are people with other GI disorders that may have issues absorbing B12 nutrients. Sources include animal products and some in different vegetables, but it's not as common as in animal products. For people who are vegetarian or vegan, it is usually recommended to involve some sort of supplementation in your diet.
Next, we're going to talk about vitamin A. Function of vitamin A is important for our vision, proper development of many different cells in our body, our immunity, and it has many other roles as well. Deficiency in vitamin A can include things like night blindness, loss of appetite, nausea, vomiting, fatigue, and weakness. The most at-risk population for vitamin A deficiency would be cystic fibrosis patients, where they have fat malabsorption, premature infants, and people with alcoholism. The consumption of alcohol can block vitamin A absorption. Good sources of vitamin A include dairy, fish, orange and yellow vegetables, our best friend leafy green vegetables, and some fortified cereals. So when you go to the grocery store, look for those fortified juices and fortified cereals. Last micronutrient we want to talk about for purposes of this video is magnesium. And like calcium, magnesium is incorporated in the bone when formation occurs. Many other functions include protein and DNA synthesis, cellular communication, and interaction with over 300 different enzymes in the body. Really important for day-to-day function. A deficiency in magnesium can lead to loss of appetite, nausea, vomiting, fatigue, and weakness, numbing, and even seizures. People most at risk are people with gastrointestinal disorders, again, alcoholism, type 2 diabetes, and the geriatric population, so older folks. Sources for magnesium, again, include dark leafy greens, nuts, legumes, whole grains, and some seeds like chia and pumpkins.
Here are some nice tips for incorporating these nutrient sources into your everyday food. A lot of vegetables can be added to soups, omelets, which we'll be discussing later, stews, lasagnas, on top of pizzas, and more. If you're picky, or you have children that are picky, you can even puree them into sauces or dips, and just add flavors to things like smoothies where you can't taste or feel the foods as much. Cereal is another good option because it's often fortified with a plethora of different micronutrients. You have to be careful with this though, because sometimes your bowl can be a lot bigger than a serving size of your cereal, and it can increase the caloric intake for your day. Now, if you're building a plate, you need to remember the My Plate guidelines. Half of your 9-inch plate should be consisting of vegetables. A quarter of it should be protein, which can be lean meat, but can also be vegetarian sources such as beans. The other half should be some sort of grain. Half of your grains should be whole grain sources, and you can include all sorts of things such as rice or whole grain bread, such as toast.
So now we're going to make a couple omelets, one with just cheese and one with a bunch of vegetables incorporated into it. About a cup of vegetables, a quarter cup of cheese with 3 eggs. Something that you can add to pretty much hide those vegetables in the eggs, so you don't, if the flavors aren't to your liking, the strong flavors of the vegetables might not be as noticeable when they're hidden in an omelet. So here's what the ingredients look like. We got our cups of vegetables there, or quarter cups of vegetables there, and our 3 eggs.
By just increasing the amount of vegetables in the omelet, you're increasing your nutrition values from about a third of your micronutrients requirements to almost half instead. And if you do have concerns about cholesterol intake coming from eggs, you can always substitute the eggs with egg whites instead, reducing the calories to around 54 calories per serving of egg whites compared to about 70 or so for a whole egg.
Here we have our 3-egg omelet with just cheese.
And this is our omelet with a cup of vegetables.
With only 40 more calories, you're going from a third to almost half of your micronutrient needs for the day. It's going to be a lot more filling, and in my opinion, a lot more tasty. So hopefully today you're able to learn a little bit about what micronutrients you might need to watch out for, and some food options that you can incorporate into your everyday meals in order to get more of them.